Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. My name is Devan and Serafino, and I am your hostess with the mostest. I am so delighted to be, blessed be Jesus, granted this opportunity to share with you, to minister unto you, to reach unto you, and to just to do what I can to help enlighten all you beautiful generations out there. And so today is what? Monday, April the 8th. Today is our day of our total solar eclipse. And good Lord, I've been wanting to do this show. Today, I'm talking about Madonna's Ray of Light album and how my spiritual thoughts on it and how I think it's such an interesting album, especially as it relates to spiritual growth and ascension and different things like that. And so everything happens when it's supposed to. I've had this on my roster to do since last year. And today is the day where I have the time and the space and everything. And it also happens to be the solar eclipse is going to be happening in a couple of hours. It's just about 1 p.m. Eastern time as I'm recording this. And so, but I think today is just simply the day it was meant to happen because a solar with these eclipses that we've been in, we had that lunar eclipse like a week ago. The solar eclipse is the day, and after these eclipses happen, we stay in that energy for I think the better part of the year to follow it. It's not like a one and done type of thing. It's almost like these eclipses inject certain energetic seeds that then need time to germinate, et cetera, et cetera. I would not be around anybody during this eclipse. I'm going to be with the Lord and with certain spiritual beings that I like to keep around and really, really turn inward. That's what to me eclipses are about. There are certain shamans and other spiritual leaders in the world who hold my point of view. I don't believe in looking up at the sun when it's blocked out. Certain people and certain spiritual who have certain spiritual mindsets also think that it's not a good thing to watch the lights go out. So I'm not watching anything. I'm not going to be around anybody. I think it's far too spiritual for me to turn it into a social thing. And so this is an experience between myself and the divine. And so, but eclipses also bring what? Detachment, release. They're karmic as fuck. Jesus Christ. The, I mean, God is always repaying people for whatever they've said, thought, done, or did not say, think, or do. But there are certain times where it seems like the karmic consequences of our actions or inactions seem to be heightened and intensified. This is one of those times. A lot of growth, a lot of digging around in our shadow to see what we can face. Old stuff comes up. We have some retrograde type of things, I believe, with Mercury getting ready to happen too. So then here comes an opportunity to face and deal with things you haven't dealt with before. And the astrological and spiritual forces are in your favor to help you if you are bold enough to face your whole truth. A partial truth, the whole truth, because anything that's not a 100% truth is a lie. So yes, 99.99999% truth is bullshit and it will not do. And so I really feel like Madonna's album, A Ray of Light, is reflective of ascension, spiritual growth in this eclipse season that we're in. The website is sexdrugsandjesus.com before I forget to tell you that. Our YouTube channel, Sex, Drugs, and Jesus Podcast, and we're on all the social media and everything like that. I'd like to give a shout out to my mom down there in Louisiana. I will see you soon. And also to my two children, my cats, my Maine Coon mixed babies, my lovely Miss Felicity Cleopatra the Catalino de Serafino, my daughter, and then my boy, Mr. Felix de Catalino de Serafino. And yes, they are that extra, that gorgeous, that beautiful, and probably about 17 pounds each now. They're really long, fluffy Maine Coon mixed cats that still think they weigh a pound and like to crawl all over my chest and everything. And so, and I let them, what can I say? I like to spoil those who are under my, under my care, under my care. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about a couple of the songs that really stand out to me from this album. They will be Drowned World Substitute for Love, Ray of Light, Nothing Really Matters, Sky Fits Heaven, Frozen, and The Power of Goodbye. Interesting about music is like you can listen to it today and then come back 10 years later and there's a whole other different meaning to it because you're looking at it through a new set of eyes. With this eclipse energy that we have going on, it gives us an opportunity to look at things from the past. I'm saying we're returning to the past, but we have the opportunity to reevaluate what happened, how it happened, see if we can learn something new from it to help ourselves and then to go forth to help this world because we're here to serve the Lord, the divine, and to be a benefit. We're not just here to consume and to get up every day and go find shit to do. We're here to do what our purpose is, what is our soul's mission. All of these things should be stirring in us right now because we're going to have the fun, but we got to be about the business of doing what the divine wants us to do. And so this album came out in 1998. I think I was a junior in high school at that time. And I pulled a little blurb from billboard.com, which this will go in the show notes. I'm gonna post a link to this article. So to quote billboard.com, they're saying when Ray of Light dropped on February 22nd, 1998, the world was already used to the idea of Madonna reinventing herself with each album. But even so, the Madonna Ciccone revealed on Ray of Light was a breathtaking departure from everything that had come before. Instead of pushing boundaries and pressing society's buttons with the smirk of a precocious child, the then 39-year-old singer was looking inward, and for the first time, she was admitting she didn't necessarily like what she saw. She was admitting she didn't necessarily I'm sorry, I'm saying the same thing again. For a pop star and songwriter defined by her ferocious confidence, Ray of Light showed us that after conquering the world, Madonna still had doubts. End of quote, even the strongest of us might have to deal with insecurities trying to pop up, envious emotions trying to come up, which we have the power to reject. It's not so much about what feelings try to come up and possess you or take hold of you. It's about what you lock energies with and get on the same page with and allow to control and to possess you. So anger could try to show up, jealousy, covetousness. You don't have to accept that shit. You have to accept those emotions. When those come up, those spirits trying to prevail over you, you have the power to rebuke those things and to acknowledge that it's there and to make a decision that is not going to control you today. When those flashbacks come back, which can happen a lot about stressful situations you've been in the past, all you have to say is, I shall never relive that experience again. And you won't because it's already done. You just have to remind your mind and your subconscious and your non-conscious that that's the actual truth. Okay, you shall never relive those experiences again. So when the devil tries to bring those up, or if you prefer to say negative energies, however you want to talk about the forces that are working against you in this universe, as there are forces that do not want to see you succeed. And you just got to accept that and grow up about that. And but it doesn't matter what they bring up. You always have the power. Can't anybody make you do nothing you don't want to do? Generally speaking, with the exception of some extreme circumstance, which most people don't live in those. So I know when Madonna released this album, I think she had just given birth. Yeah, she had just given birth to her first child, to Lourdes. And see, the thing about childbirth, it is a type of death for the parent. Anything that we start in this life is a type of death. And this is why death is a beautiful thing. When one thing is ending, something else is beginning. If you go from being single, okay, to being in a relationship with one or more persons, well, that is the death of your singlehood. Your life is now on a completely different trajectory, and it's going to morph and change based on the dynamics of this new relationship. So it's not so it's not these things are not done in a vacuum. So when people go about the business of, oh, look, getting all emotional, wanting to have children, that's all cute and all, but it's gonna redirect your whole life, and And same thing with a relationship, the warm, fuzzy feelings. Oh, I'm gonna get me someone to date. Okay, but you gotta have to sacrifice it. How your life as you know it will die. So it could be a beautiful thing, or it might not be. It just depends on how everything goes. I know that Madonna has spent a lot of time in the Orient, like Japan, and different places like that, right around the time that this album came out. That's why we see in the video for Nothing Really Matters, she is giving us that geisha energy. She's giving us that Japanese energy and everything. And it's a very, very I agree with this Billboard album because I remember interviews Madonna did during this time, and the way she was talking became very, like, enlightened, super spiritual. I think this is when she began to get super fucking healthy and get all meditaty, and stuff like that. And because whatever she went through caused her to just take a completely different perspective on things. When I went through the chaos of last year, which I've covered in previous episodes, that the devastation of that sort of foolishness, from within a relationship and from with other people, around me who I thought I could trust, who I couldn't. It is a common thing for people who were able to make it out of that to experience, rapid spiritual growth, you know, and I don't know at what point it caught up with me or whatever the fuck started happening. And then I realized that I was in some type of Kundalini rising, some type of ascension. The issues that I dealt with forced me to propel and grow at an astronomical rate. And these eclipses that we've been in between and all of the energies that are prevailing this year have this kind of power, this sort of essence and flair to them. And so I want to tie this into this album. And I invite you to, whenever you have time, to go back and listen to Madonna's Ray of Light and see what speaks to you from it and see how we can use music to help us grow spiritually, to help us understand ourselves better. It's cool to twerk and shake our fat PHAT asses to all the songs that we can, honey. Yes. However, we got to calm the fuck down and listen to the subtle messages within these lyrics, within ourselves. Life is too short to be fucking around. We got to be serious about life. We could enjoy the fuck out of it, but we got to get our spiritual selves tuned up. The first song is a Drowned World Substitute for Love. This is the opening song. Okay. And I mean, the drowned world, it means a world that's drowning in its own emotions. Uh, it's not balanced. You're not, if you're drowning, you're not staying afloat. This is chaos. This is not what we want. A substitute for love. I mean, that in the titles, Madonna is talking about the great many things that people go out there and do because they don't love themselves. Using drugs in a bad way, using sex in a bad way, using each other in a bad way, hiding from the truth in a million different ways, doom scrolling through social media, whatever the case may be, overworking, staying at the office way too damn long, not being balanced, over volunteering, doing anything too damn much. I mean, people can hide in the most interesting of places. So some of the lyrics from this song: I traded fame for love without a second thought. It all became a silly game. Some things cannot be bought. This makes me think of from the book of Ecclesiastes when Solomon is talking about vanity of vanities, everything is vanity. Solomon was the richest person probably in the world at that time, certainly the wisest. In the book of Ecclesiastes, he talks about how he tried every fucking thing he could, both carnal and spiritual and everything. And at the end of the day, he said, you know what? It all comes down to fulfilling your purpose for why you're here on this earth, fulfilling your purpose for your generation. Enjoy your labors, but do what you were sent here to do. So Madonna had come full circle. She'd already been rich. She'd already tried so much. And she's saying in an instant she would trade all the fame for love. One thing that I've experienced too this past year as I've grown, it's like there's a huge focus on who's close to me. And the requirements are quite severe and quite intense because I'm focused on building like just a small elite team of people, who I can really rely on. And that emphasis on high quality, meaningful, close relationships is something that as I've grown, I've realized how temporary this world and everything in it is, but those relationships have a more lasting value to them. And I'm still in the middle of this growth process. These ascensions that we experience can last for years. Who knows? And there's some people believe they don't stop once they start. You start seeing all these synchronistic numbers and things, and everywhere you go. I mean, I've had this, like on clocks and televisions, you'll see them 555, 111, 444, et cetera, 222, you know, and this also reminds me of an article I was reading, I think when Madonna was living in the UK, and some shit had happened, something broke in her house on a holiday, and she was saying, like, no matter how much money she offered the repair guy, they absolutely refused to come and, to repair it, and she was like, according to this article, I can't remember what magazine it was in, she was saying, like, it's refreshing to see that some people can't be bought, you know? So, it's amazing how the very people who, and this is no shade to Madonna, but, if you let people bend you to their will, they'll go with that, but if you're strong enough to resist them, they also have to respect you if you don't. It's interesting the way that goes. People will try all kinds of things, but if you actually don't bend, then people kinda, like, take a step back and go, "Okay, this one's not, gonna be food like that," and so, this just reminded me of that article I read. More lyrics says, "I traded fame for love without a second thought." Oh, wait a minute, damn it. Let me read the same thing again. And she said, "I traveled around the world looking for a home. I found myself in crowded rooms, feeling so alone." I've had that experience a bunch. I could have been in the middle of a huge ass rave with thousands of people, and sometimes I just feel like I just can't connect with anybody. I think that this is like times when the Lord can be calling us to go be with him. Because it's not for us to always be around a whole group of people. You know, our alone time with God must become of increasing importance rather than so much time with people. There is a balance that we are physical beings, but we're also spiritual beings too. But after this physical time clock is run out, that spirit of yours is still going to be there. So we gotta start investing more into the afterlife while we yet live. And so this feeling of isolation can come upon us more frequently as we experience growth. There will be people who come through this eclipse season and actually take advantage of this and learn and grow and change. I'm here to tell you that you are going to feel more and more isolated around, people who you used to be comfortable with. You're gonna find you have less in common, than people. They're low vibrational conversations. You're not gonna be interested in hearing it. The low vibrational things people like to put into their body, like fast food and sodas. You're not gonna be interested in doing any of that anymore. And that's okay because we should grow and change. We shouldn't be doing the same shit this year as we were doing last year or 10 years ago. Strictly speaking, there's some stuff, we still gonna play our video games and shit like that, but you know what the fuck I mean. Like, if there's room to grow, if I can grow, you know, so I mean, my opinion, with the exception of some extenuating circumstances, if somebody has a kitchen to cook in, and I mean, you can set aside time to meal prep and things like that, because what fast food costs you both physically, mentally, energetically, and financially, you're really coming up short at the end of the day with fucking around with fast food. I don't think the people who own those companies actually eat the bullshit they're selling people, which is an insult to the intelligence of people who are willing to eat it. But so yeah, so that feeling of feeling alone is multitudinal. I found myself, checking into like the psychedelic societies, around New York because I'm trying to find a group of people who are into consciousness expansion who, when I say things like Kundalini rising or spiritual things, they know what I'm talking about. I can't be around people who want to talk about what the Kardashians are doing or who did what or just money or sex or who's dating, basic bitch bullshit. I ain't got time for that. And neither will you once you grow. So I'm just trying to tell you, expect it. It's part of the process. The lyrics continue. I had so many lovers who settled for the thrill. I mean, I love the fact that she's saying settled for the thrill because she's acknowledging the fact that no matter how many lovers you get or how much sex you can have, it's a basic ass thrill. She's saying she did this, she was a part of it, but she's also acknowledging there really wasn't anything to it. Okay. More lyrics, famous faces, far off places, trinkets I can buy, no handsome stranger, petty danger, drug that I can try. Well, this is this still speaks to me about like how Solomon was experimenting with things in the book of Ecclesiastes. I mean, most people would. If you have a lot of money, a lot of fame, a lot of recognition, as Solomon did, and so does Madonna, they tried shit. And both of them came to the same conclusion: relationships, serving the divine, sorting out your soul's purpose at the end of the day. So people working hard to get rich or to have experiences, there's people who've done all that and they've already told you that even if you go and have sex with everyone you can get your hands on and do every drug you can get your hands on and get all the money you can get your hands on, if you have any fucking sense, then you will understand that all of those things passing vanities. I'm going to do a different show about Lucifer's devices, and I'm going to teach you about the subtle ways that the devil tricks people with fool's gold, which are things that have a certain aesthetic to them, but they don't have roots. They won't last. And so I'm thankful to God for letting people get wealthy, get fortune, get fame and everything, and then tell us just how much it really isn't. And so some people really, really want to be famous and rich, but I mean, there's burdens that come along with that, and most people cannot handle having options. Those people get consumed with what options they have, and they're not nowhere near being rich. There wouldn't be a world if everybody had as much money as they wanted, because some people just cannot fucking handle it. And so the last thing from this song, she says, "Now I find I've changed my mind. This is my religion." That's the whole point of the whole album. That's the whole point of going through spiritual growth and ascension and Kundalini risings and taking advantage of the cosmic forces available sent to us by God through eclipses and different things like that, and full moons and all that, super moons and so on and so forth. Now I find I've changed my. This is about changing your point of view, doing something different, not living the life the same way that you had before. Okay. By the time this show comes out, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 should be on the 12th of April. It won't matter that the eclipses happen because, like I said, we're still in this for the foreseeable future. Is that these things don't just go away overnight. It's not one and done. I will be in Guadalajara, go and hang out with some shamans and spiritual leaders, two of which are getting married. And I'm going to be marinating in Mexico for a while because it's a blessing to go to Mexico. Very open-minded people, big-hearted people, safe, very safe down there. Don't care what you see on the news. At least in the deep parts where I go into, like Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara, Mexico City, things like that. Anyway, I digress on that. Ray of Light is the next song. It is the name of the album. Also, I think it's number 3 on the track. So, Zephyr in the sky at night, I wonder, do my tears of morning sink beneath the sun? She's got herself a universe gone quickly, for the call of thunder threatens everyone. That call of thunder, is what in the tarot people, people refer to as like the tower. This call of thunder is what shakes up and changes everything. We have lightning striking. We have the voice of God rumbling and changing. When we had that earthquake up here the other day over in Jersey, I was laying in bed and I thought maybe the wind was blowing, the particular tower that I live in. I was like, it's kind of tall. And so I was like, oh. It was just like a gust of wind or whatever the case may be, because I was still like asleep. And then I started getting like these emergency warnings and everything. I'm like, oh, okay. I personally don't think that it's a coincidence, really, that anything, nothing's really a coincidence to me, but especially like the earthquake in like the New York City tri-state area, when we're in between like a lunar and a solar eclipse with all the other astrological indications for this year, I don't think just happened to happen. God will speak to us a million different ways, from a dragonfly fluttering in front of you to a ladybug landing on the palm of your hand to seeing shooting stars to earthquakes in Jersey that are felt, all across New York, and I'm in Manhattan feeling an earthquake. I'm up here concerned about blizzards and snowstorms, but lo and behold, we got earthquakes too. I remember when I was living in Southern California and working in Los Angeles, we went through a phase where there was like tornadoes and like Watts and Compton and shit, just unusual fucking weather like that, happens when God is trying to get our attention. So in this song, Madonna is saying, for the call of thunder threatens everyone. There are certain things that happen that change the whole planet, be it the coronavirus, these astrological times that we're under, and can't nobody escape karma. I don't care who you are, because the God is not mocked. Whatsoever any human sows, that also will they reap, period. These are universal laws which nobody can change. Every little thing you say and do will come back to you. In the book of Matthew, Jesus talks about how humans will have to give an account for every idle word that has come out of our mouths. So everything is recorded in the books that are open in the book of Revelation. And it talks about how the books are open, which contain all of our works. Everything that we do, there are no secrets. And then there was a little book with everybody's name, who was destined to be written in the Lamb's book of life. And so that thunder comes and it shakes shit up. You have people who will fall and meet destruction, who didn't think it would ever happen. You have people who will come up and rise, who thought that the situation that they were going through was so damn bad that they were gonna die. I've been there before. A bitch ain't dead. No, she's very much fucking alive, and thriving and getting better, and everything is working out in my favor because I honor God and I lean and depend on Him. But we got to go through the darkness to be refined and stripped and have everything stripped away from us that we don't need, so we can come out listening. That is what this album is about. That's what this eclipse season and all these cosmic energies are trying to help us to do. She's got herself a universe gone quickly. This speaks to me like, so it's like she had a universe, a life as she understood it, existence as she understood it, gone quickly. Okay. When these tower moments, as it's spoken in the tarot, happen, this is shit that can happen faster than what you realize. It comes upon you like it unawares. It's change you didn't think would ever happen. Doesn't matter that this girl had this universe, it's gone and it went quickly. But hey, she gets a new universe. And she's gonna have to learn to adjust and to adapt. When I was getting ready to go to the military when I was 17, Evangelist Nelson was telling me, to go out into the world to make it, I need to learn to adjust. Instead of thinking people should act like how I act, she was telling me I need to, when in Rome, do as the Romans to a degree. Don't do no foolishness, nothing like that. I still got to be myself, but there must be flexibility. Okay. And this woman, whoever this is, I guess Madonna's talking about herself. She let the universe go. She wasn't trying to hold on to shit that she used to do or used to have, whoever it was she thought she used to be. This lyric says she's got herself a universe gone quickly. She released what the spiritual forces were trying to take from her so that she could be granted something new and be better positioned to serve her purpose for the divine. For the call of thunder threatens everyone. None can deliver you out of God's hands. I don't care who you are. There's no witch you can go run to. There's no demon you can go pray to. There's no way to wiggle out of it. you know, then the final lyrics from this song, Madonna says, and I feel very famous and I feel like I just got home. having had all the money, all the fame, all the people licking her ass everywhere that she goes, it wasn't until she went through this cataclysmic change that she's saying, like, I just got home. Now I feel like I know who I am. Now I feel like, I've accomplished all this. In the book of Proverbs, it talks about how a human can scale a whole city and not know themselves. How a person can accomplish great things, have all the kids and the money and all the lovers and all the sex, but completely have no fucking idea who they are. And so so I'm happy Madonna made it home, but what I'm trying to get you to understand that by this point, she already had the shit that you think that you want to have in life. No, you're not her. And so your responses to things in life are gonna be different, but yet we all carry certain commonalities. Okay. Home, she found was in her relationships. This new kid that she had changed her perspective. Home to me is in those very relationships that I'm trying to cultivate with people who really fucking get me and understand me. I'm a weird motherfucker. Like I really am a strange person, and that is a part of power. For God's sakes, I don't want to be like most people. How boring would that be? And so, this is a time where light workers are standing up, and it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be different. It always was, but more collectively, people are starting to see that there is more strength in being the weird person in the room than being the system relevant person who looks and walks and talks like every fucking body else. Nobody wants that. Nobody with any fucking sense. And so, home, is where your heart is. And the Lord said, wherever your treasure is, so your heart will be also. So, what do you really value? Spirituality, the divine. That's where my true home is with the Lord in heaven. I'm here on this earth to help you all out, but I'd rather go be with him. I will in time. I have much work to do. And so home, home, where are you the most comfortable? You know, home, home, home. Home here is coming into an understanding of who you are and why you are, and having the right team of highly scrutinized, well qualified people around you. I'm talking about friends, the right business partners, taking your time when it comes to finding people to get in bed with. All this work that you're doing can very easily and quickly be unraveled if you open yourself up sexually to the wrong sort of people. I have warned you about sex magic, witchcraft, dark magic, dark intentions, and I released a blog that's about halfway done, but it was just time to get it out there. On my website, I consulted with two other shamans that I know, and or two shamans that I know, and to answer questions about the spiritual aspect of sex. No, your parents didn't teach you this. No, they didn't know. I'm done talking about what parents didn't do. What we can do is re-educate ourselves and learn different. I am going down a path myself of learning like sexual shamanism, sexual alchemy, and refraining myself from being sexually active, no dating, no nothing like that until I get a new head of knowledge. Because I wasn't trained right with sex. I don't want to do it wrong anymore. I want to be sure who the fuck I'm dealing with, and I want to worship the divine through sexual interactions, which you can do. Everything from mindful spiritual masturbation to alchemical, shamanistic, tantric sex with your partner. There's like specific training that I'm going to take for this. So I don't know how that works with like polyamory or anything like that yet, but I will be able to tell you this information this year at some point. So home is when you know who's around you, who you are, is having shit in place, balanced out. It's very intentional living where everything is accounted for. And if it or person doesn't add value within the dynamic has to be renegotiated or it has to be excommunicated. But this is us not allowing for foolishness on any level. There are billions of people in this world. If somebody isn't treating you right, bitch, go find some fucking body else. It's really just that damn simple. And, in theory, I mean, the dynamics and the inner workings and unraveling from people might not be, but if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. My favorite scene from Shrek, I think it was Shrek 2, when the gingerbread dude got big and he went stomping through town, he smashed the Starbucks, and everybody ran out there in, like, chaos and pandemonium, and just screaming, and then they just ran across the street to the other Starbucks, you know? So and I love the valuable life lesson there. So if there's some foolishness going on with one person, okay, let that tower moment happen, let it crumble to the fucking ground. Okay. They go across the street to somewhere. There is nothing nobody's doing or selling in this world that you can't get somewhere else. So tolerate nothing that's not respecting you because you can always do better. Or as we would say in the game, if you're gonna trade, trade up. We're not gonna negotiate down. And so the next song is gonna be Nothing Really Matters. This is the one with all the Japanese inspiration in it. I fucking love it. Y'all know I love me some Japan. You know, I might pop up there any day now, just hanging out. I mean, living in New York has its perks, and damn near probably every fucking airline in the world comes through our airport. And so it's, getting somewhere from up here is like nothing really matters. So let me read these lyrics. When I was very young, nothing really mattered to me but making myself happy. I was the only one. How many of us were selfish little shits? When we were younger. I remember being an arrogant little fucking child when I was like, I don't know, like 4 or 5, because I guess as I was spoiled, whoever the reasons are. But at the same time, I was still generous and helping people. But I used to just it's people used to, like, try to just get my attention, so much when I was a child that I just wanted to, sleep because I was fucking tired. But I remember being I was having, like, a few moments. It's not like it was all the time, but the beautiful thing here is we grow out of it. It's sad when you see people well into their adult years who are still living from a script that they feel like everything has to be about them or for them, and they haven't understood the power that comes with living to serve other people. Like Yoda told Anakin, you gotta learn to let go of that which you fear to lose, so that you can actually get what's meant for you to have. But because when you're holding on to things, you can only see that thing, but there's, like, many, many things that can be had, you gotta let go. You gotta let go. Two tunnel vision there. And then Madonna continues and she says, "Now that I am grown, everything's changed." A person can she's not talking about physical age. She's talking about she has leveled up spiritually. Okay. 39 years old when Ray of Light dropped, when this album dropped. She's saying, "Now that I am grown," not she turned 18. So sometimes we be thinking we're adulting. We have to become adults financially and all of that, sure, but you also have to grow up spiritually, emotionally, okay, mastering things like detachment, forgiveness, not playing a victim, being aware when these energies start to try to lurk around in your presence. Things are never going to be perfect, but you can get pretty fucking skilled at becoming aware of adverse energies and spirits that don't need to be in your presence, be it physically manifesting like in a person or just some shit you're picking up on when you're by yourself. And she says, "I'll never be the same because of you." Now, this you could be her little daughter. She could be talking about the changes that have happened. She could be referencing back to that thunder from the Ray of Light song that threatens everyone. But whatever it is that happened, she was one way, and now she's never going to be the same. The Devana that I am today, sitting here on April the 8th of the year 2024, is completely fucking different than the Devana that I was on April 8th of 2023. Okay. Most people in esoteric circles seem to agree and believe that there is like a wave of enlightenment sweeping the world. Okay, where God is in my opinion, echoing what is spoken of in the book of Joel in the Old Testament, where the Lord talks about how in the last days he will pour out his spirit upon all flesh. And so, but when the spirit of the Lord comes, you get liberty. When the spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, there is life, there is freedom, there's peace, there's healing. So for somebody to be granted a spiritual awakening of any kind, the spirit of God has to be present for that to pull back the darkness that has had you blind to some degree. And so you won't be the same, once that happens, which is a death that you must go through. It'll be uncomfortable as fuck, but it gets better with time, but what good, I'm gonna quote John Wick at some point, what good is life when it's convenient? We grow through, the problems and pain and the bullshit and all of these different things, that we go through, that's where the value is. Madonna continues, nothing really matters. Love is all we need. Everything I give you all comes back to me. After all the fortune, all the fame, all the lovers spoken of in previous songs, at the end of the day, love, valuable, high quality relationships, the select few is what it boils down to. Because with a bunch of money, what can you do? Go fly somewhere else, go have some other experience, go eat the next most exotic thing, go find the new drug, go buy you some whores, whatever the case may be. Yawn. What never does get old is a true connection, like conversation between you and God, and conversation between you and people who you can trust unequivocally. That it doesn't seem old. The love from our spirit animals, you know, that psychic connection between us and especially cats, is intense. Is very, very real and very, very severe, like the best way. Every animal has that kind of ability in them, and even every insect is really about us as humans getting a heightened sense of awareness, to be able to understand nature in a way we have not understood it before. All of that is going on through this whole Ray of Light album. This is a whole metamorphosis. And again, this time that we're in, this is a strong time and a strong year. If people want to change, that they can. And I don't care what it is. There is nothing that God can't deliver you from. Okay. Because all power, belongs to God. And there is nothing that he cannot undo. And so, I never thought in a million years that I actually would stop drinking. And I have, and I just drink de-alcoholized the things, and bars actually have plenty of de-alcoholized options or just fucking juice. And it's not weird. It's not strange at all. I feel like it's a position of power. It's a power move to be the only person at a bar, at a restaurant, or at some sort of function not drinking. The weird one in the room is the strong one in the room. I'll say that again. The weird one in the room is the strong one in the room. That's my story, and I'm fucking sticking to it. And it all comes back to me. That's referencing the karma that I spoke earlier. God is not mocked. Whatsoever any human sows, that also will they reap. Madonna continues, I realize that nobody wins. Something is ending as something begins. This is referencing back to me the universe that the woman from the Ray of Light song, she's got herself a universe gone quickly. That one ended, but another one began. You enter into a relationship, your singleness ends. There's a death. The new birth, this is a relationship. The relationship ends. That's a death. Your new birth is you. This is why it is important when a relationship ends that you don't go take your ass to start having sex with a lot of people, or really anyone, or to start, and for fuck's sake, not having rebound sex with the person you broke up with. Lord, you're not rebound sex, or having sex with the person that you broke up with, or any kind of rebound sex. You need to give yourself time to go through the transition of becoming single and really getting the lessons out of the breakup and out of the relationship. If you don't slow down to give yourself that time to heal and to learn, then the likeliness of you hopping into another relationship that's gonna fuck up is high because you're not ready. You have a weak foundation. You're not strong as you think you are. Like you need to wait. Something ends, something begins. Okay, so the relationship ended. You're single now. You're turning into a new you, but you need to give time for that to completely happen before you go run off and get into another relationship again. That you could very subtly, subconsciously, and non-consciously be using that new relationship. And I just don't even know what to say about people who are consciously, intentionally using a new relationship to try to patch over old pain. Shame on you. Like if you're intentionally doing that. And so you need to stop. And because all you're doing is ultimately, well, and so how did Sam Cooke say it? I'm too good at goodbye. No, Sam Smith wrote that song. I'm too good at goodbyes. You better learn how to get good at goodbyes. I used to hate saying goodbyes and things like that. Now I love it. I look forward to the next relationship I can cut off or detach. It's so liberating. It's like losing weight. And and it's constantly sending a signal and a message to the divine that you actually are serious about your spiritual growth and your divine purpose. And if you are, then there's no way that you're going to tolerate less than acceptable people around you. And so, but you're not here to serve humans more so than you are to serve God. But in by serving God, you end up serving humans, but your priorities have got to be right. So we got to learn to let go and detach. There's nothing that you have lost that you can't get again, but your intentions have got to be right. Like you can't go to God just wanting shit for the sake of having shit, like, and especially if you haven't healed, you got to get your priorities in line. Your reason for existence has to come first. Then Madonna in this song says, nothing takes the past away like the future. Nothing makes the darkness go like the light. And it also has been said, and I can't remember who said this quote, that the wound is the point part in us where the light enters. So during this year, during this time, be in that shadow, feel the feelings of whatever pain you went through and let that light come in through those wounds. She said, nothing takes the past away like the future. I agree with that, but some of these changes not gonna happen overnight. When I got out of that terrible situation last year, shit, I tried to fix it instantly. Even changing my last name, things we initiate these changes, like I was mentioning earlier, it's like this eclipse will inject and plant seeds of change that are gonna need time to germinate, you know. I mean, it took the better part of a year, for me to become who I am in a solid, grounded way where I feel like I'm ready to really go forth, in my new strength and my new personality and my new, you know, people I haven't been around in a while. I will see when I'm back in Louisiana here shortly. I mean, we damn near might have to have reintroductions. The changes that can come upon an individual who's really fucking ready to change. You should not, in essence, look like the same person. Like you want to have certain habits still. I still play with my Xbox. I still garden. The way I show up to situations, the way I deal with relationships of any kind, the way I think internally, the way I don't let people bother me, the way that you show up to life, you know, which is how people perceive you is what will change. Okay. You like to cook, you're probably still gonna like to cook. Things of that nature, the way you approach God, things like that can take on a new form. Nothing takes the past away like the future. Nothing makes the darkness go like the light. Then my Ori proverb says, when we turn our face to the sun, the shadows fall behind us. Okay. This is about keeping your focus set on what's ahead of you because those old energies are going to come up and try to pull you back. Things that you've been tied to, your habits, your whatever they are, overthinking, critical self-talk, those are all habits, neural pathways that have been formed, not just drugs, sex, or whatever the case may be, gambling, excessive traveling, or whatever kind of like addiction or pattern, negative pattern, we'll say it like that. That shit's not interested in letting you go. Because remember, there are sentient spirits and entities attached to everything, and these things bond with you. So, like, you've been incessantly doing whatever for years. Just because you're ready to turn away from it, I mean, the shit's gonna want to turn away from you. But the challenge is for you to get up every day and to still, I say, I'm moving forward. I'm pressing forward. Like physically say, I speak light, and I speak light into my future. Okay. You can rebuke the darkness in the name of Jesus if you would be so powerful, but you got to stay focused on what is ahead and let go of what's behind you. What the Apostle Paul said, the one thing he does is to press toward the mark of for the prize of the high calling that is in Christ Jesus and forgetting those things which are past. What Fleetwood Mac said it like, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. It'll soon be here. Yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone. Come on, Stevie Nicks. Yes. And that's enough from that song. One of my favorite videos of all time, though, that nothing really matters. So, Sky Fits Heaven. She says, traveling down this road, watching the signs as I go, I think I'll follow the sun. Isn't everyone just traveling down their own road, watching the signs as they go? I think I'll follow my heart. It's a very good place to start. Let us pay attention to the signs, you know, and my prayer for you is as you grow spiritually, you will be able to see the signs and the way God speaks to us. You could hear it in the wind, before that earthquake happened up here, it was raining torrentially like a day or 3 before, and I was listening through the spirit at this rain, and I said, "That rain sounds bad." It had like an angry, sound to it, so I'm like, what is God angry about? I'm not suggesting the earthquake was punishment. I didn't say that. But I'm saying, like, there's meanings to things in certain formations of clouds. You can sometimes the weather can feel ominous, and you can tell something bad is about to happen. Stay your ass in the house tonight, or whatever the case may be. So let us watch the signs. I mentioned the synchronicities and the numbers. If you keep seeing 555, maybe Google what does 555 mean. Sunsigns.org is a great website for numerology. There's YouTube videos, there's all kinds of things to help you understand when shit keeps happening, or you keep hearing or seeing patterns, to stop blowing that off. Don't brush that off. God's trying to talk to you. And so, Madonna's talking about watching the signs as you go. Travel down your road, but pay attention. Learn how to read the tea leaves. Okay. Read the room. What's going on here? Live intentionally and be thankful that you're being directed by God, by the divine, and let that direction happen, but also be concerned about your contribution to the divine in return. I've expressed in the past, my frustration with the amount of manifesting that this world likes to do for physical things. I want you to start manifesting spiritual growth, your ascensions, a close relationship with God, manifest spiritual understanding, manifest wisdom, manifest more faith. And I don't care what anybody says, everybody operates on some level of faith. So you might not want to believe in God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost, but you might believe in some supposedly intuitive person on YouTube or whatever telling you that they're star seeds and indigo children, or that they are what they're reading in coffee grinds, or literally in tea leaves. You have enough faith to believe that the people who wrote and have given us this information on all of these astrological signs is true. You believe that. You haven't validated that. I researched to try to see, who came up with all of this stuff. Like, the numerology, astrological signs, where did it come from? What spirit gave us this? The research only goes back to like certain enlightened minds of the age, and it's like they just came up with it. It doesn't really answer who, because we've been able to use, say, the zodiac, and we know, okay, well, most people born under the sign of Pisces seem to act like this. We can validate that and prove it, but much of it is still you going on faith. You're choosing to believe that whoever's intuiting whatever, reading your tarot cards or divining for you in whatever kind of way, you're putting faith in that person. You're putting faith in the cards, in the deck. You're putting faith in the gemstones or the crystals or in the candles or whatever it is that they're using. So you got faith that the people that where you go out to eat aren't going to poison you or put some shit in your food. I have known of things like that to happen. But people sitting in the restaurants believe that it wouldn't, did. We have faith every fucking second of the day. Okay. There's a lot of faith. You just might not choose to believe in God with it, and that is totally your choice. What I'm trying to get you to understand is we're all people of faith. It's just, what are you choosing to put your faith in? You believe, we believe, so much from that our car or the train will take us from here to the other side of town, or that we'll be able to stand up and walk across the room. Some people wake up and they actually can't do that, depending on what ailment has taken over them, taken hold on them throughout the night, you know. But we have a lot of faith, a lot of faith. The next part says, oh, that she mentions following her heart. It's a very good place to start. When's the last time that you absolutely lived for yourself in the terms of doing what you want to do because you want to do it? Not because somebody else wants you to do it, be it your manipulative parents, friends, lovers, people you're sleeping with, not coercion, not your family. People, you doing what you want to do because you want to do it. You got to follow your heart. That is your path of happiness. So if you have a job that you hate, it's establish an exit plan to leave. No matter how much money you make, the misery that you have, it's not going to compensate for the fact that you're expending energy every day into something that you know you're not aligned with. So ultimately, you're going to cancel it all out, whatever kind of progress or prosperity you think you're getting from that. And so fate fits karma, so use it. That's what the wise man said to me. Fate fits karma means whatever happens to you in the future is heavily tied to what you're doing today. So what some people try to just act like it's random ass fate, or I don't know why this happened to me. Well, you may have forgotten what you did back then. When I was in the hospital, who the fuck was I in Brooklyn? I was one of the people who I was roomed with, because he had COVID and I had COVID at the time. God help me. These respiratory diseases in New York are fucking strong. Period. It is strong. I can see why New York was so hit with COVID, but I haven't had them now. So my immune system is New York strong. I had rhinovirus, COVID twice, and pneumonia since I've been here, and the flu. And my lab results are fine. It's just these viruses here getting my body ready for the whole world. You can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, biologically speaking. But this fool was sitting there telling me about how he used to cheat on this girl, have her waiting to go on a date with him. He'll cancel that so he could go have sex with some other girl, just playing foolish, childish, low vibrational, masculine games like that. And now he's sitting there, he gets his positive HIV diagnosis while I'm in the hospital with him. And yeah, hospitals are just that tacky where they don't, I mean, patient confidentiality just doesn't exist. No hospital I've been in actually honors that anymore. They talk loud, they tell all your business. Everybody on the whole damn floor knows what's going on. It's just the way they are. And so I don't think anybody even works at HIPAA anymore. And so he's sitting there crying and shit because he got HIV. And his current girlfriend, was texting certain questions that made it seem like she's been out there sleeping around on him. Well, he had gotten to a point in his life where he decided to stop being a hoe. Okay. But that does not erase all the time that you spent owing. And so now that you're ready to be all responsible and shit, that don't mean that you're not gonna have to pay, and it's not for you to decide what your comeuppance is going to be. See, that's one of the tricks of Lucifer. He will trick you into doing things today that give you pleasure as your mind, which is a broken mind, and if you under that type of influence, to be willing to do such low things, but the devil will trick you into having that pleasure today, but it's gonna cost you so fucking much more in the future. Okay, so he and the bitterness will be so strong that you're not even just gonna remember whatever fucking fleeting ass pleasure you had when you was out there having sex or doing whatever the fuck was done with the dishonest intentions. And so are harmful intentions to people. And so he's sitting there crying, actually verbally saying, "Why me? What did I do to deserve this? I kept my mouth shut." Because it's not for me to explain to motherfucking, little boys and shit why, they've gotta connect those dots on their own. You know, he couldn't understand why he can't run around and cheat on people today, and now you have it has been decided by the powers that be, God or whatever you wanna call it, that your portion is to now have HIV, probably got from the current person you're with. And And as the angels speak, in the book of Revelation, when God's judgments are coming down upon people, you are worthy, Lord, because you have judged us. Whether the Lord decides to strike somebody from this earth and kill them for the things they have done, or to inflict them with a disease, or to drive them crazy in their mind. I mean, God has everything in it, or has his arsenal to balance those karmic scales, and they will be balanced. Don't let people tell you that God is so nice or the divine is just this fluffy being that's only good and doesn't judge people and will never ever hurt anyone. The Lord will repay to you your ways. God holds the power of life and death in his hands. When Jesus got up out the grave, he said, "Behold, all power is given into my hands," which means the keys of death and hell, belong to God. All power belongs to God. It is too damn delusional to think that we as humans, which are a reflection of the divine, have all these different aspects to us from anger and rage and pleasantness and all the things, and God is just going to be one way. He is a consistent being, but he has emotions, he has a personality, and there's a side to him that gets really pissed off when people hurt his children. Okay. So don't let people tell you that the hand of God cannot be against you. Oh, yes, it can. There's scripture that speaks about how God will speak against people and fight against people. Terrible position to be in. But when you do janky, low vibrational shit to people, what Madonna is talking about here, fate fits karma. Your fate, you are deciding it today based on how you treat people today. And what I'm trying to get you to understand is you need to stop letting the devil fool you into cheap fool's gold thrills just to have some fun in this moment when that shit could cost you like years of your life. Because some of these karmic cycles people get in last for years, it's not decades. It's not for you to decide what the punishment will be or how long it's going to last. So, so you go have your little sex sessions or your seances where you're trying to cast black magic against people or lie and fabricate contracts or whatever kind of janky shit you're doing. Okay, it might not take you that much time to do those things, but what if the Lord decides you will have 5 years of chaos because of that? He might. You have no fucking clue. On the flip side of the coin, good shit happens too if you do good shit. I mean, the Lord really, really has done amazing and incredible things internally. The way I love myself, the way I think about myself, the boundaries I enforce with motherfuckers, shit that I wasn't able to do like about a year ago. I'm doing that shit now. I'm very well established in New York City, even though my initiation was rough as a son of a bitch. God damn. But it helped me to build character. The Lord has worked so many marvelous things, like 2024, the vanity is back, period. And I give glory to God for that, period. But fate fits karma. You sow into people, even though they despitefully use you, God is going to get them, but you're also going to get your good payback too. You will have even if you have problems, you understand how you can look at that problem and see the value in it. Doesn't matter. There's no door that's really closed to you when you walk with the Lord. That's just a redirection. You didn't need to go through it any damn way. So fate fits karma. There is something so karmic about this time. It's just like whatever the fuck has happened is right in front of people and nobody can hide from it or run away, which is a mercy because God is trying to afford you the opportunity to deal with your shit while you're yet alive and you can. Okay? Do it today because tomorrow is not promised, and stop thinking you're gonna come back as a giraffe or some goddamn butterfly or some bug or some insect. You better treat this life like it's the only one because that's a high gamble to take. To think that you just get to very fluffily just keep doing it again. I mean, there is some shit that just sounds too good to be true. From God just being this titty bear that just showers rainbows upon people all the time and nothing else, to being able to fuck over life and just keep getting reincarnated. I mean, mm-mm. No, I'm telling you, no. And so she says, "Fate fits karma, so use it." That's what the wise man said to me. Wouldn't I hope y'all learn to listen to wisdom and wise people and how to discern who's wise and who isn't. Because wisdom is great when you have it around you. Use it because the wise people are not guaranteed to be around you forever. Prophets don't live forever, as it says in the Bible. Learn to go to God for yourself. But if you're graced to having somebody who has more wisdom than you and they think enough of you to speak that to you, you better listen to that person because it's not guaranteed they're going to be there tomorrow. Okay. Hand fits giving, so do it. That's what the gospel said to me. Life fits giving, so let your judgments go. That's how our future should be. Reminds me of a dream that I had, and the Lord was showing me Republicans. It was a beautiful, melodious song singing. Mm. When you hear good music in your dream space, this is a good thing. This is a very auspicious sign. And it was Republicans wanting to establish a new point of view, acknowledging that they had been doing people wrong. And I was like, this was during a time where I was very anti fucking Republican. And I mean, I still am because of the way they hurt people. I'm not against them because of their values, but so much of the current Republican Party has to do with being against minorities or against people who they think are less than them and treating people any kind of way. They're not really for anything. It's like they take this fear and this anger and they use that to motivate people and they are things that do motivate people. Low vibrational fucking basic bitch people, but the motivation to people all the same. And in this dream, the Lord is showing me that He's changing the hearts of those types of people. Old, white, racist, financially stable people are some of the last people in this earth who are going to give a fuck about changing. They're surrounded by people who are supporting their bullshit. And for the Lord to show me this in a dream, the Lord knew I needed a song to confirm the validity of what He is telling me. I'm all like, people can change, and they do. And the Lord is, another thing that I've struggled with. We talk about ascensions and Kundalini risings and all of that and awakenings and such a positive light. There are some shadow aspects to that too. So I had to circumnavigate through this phase of, realizing, that now most places I go to, I'm the wisest person in the room and not being so utterly like bored with people or harboring a disdain towards people because they are where they're at. And now my wisdom is elevated above that. I've had other dreams about that. You know, Basically, with an ascension can come like a type of arrogance and a hubris where you do understand that you're stronger than people, and I am. But in that same breath, the whole reason for the strength is to help the weakest among us. So letting our judgments go, at face value, you would think, stop the anti gay shit, stop the anti, black shit, African American shit, or whatever the case might be. But also for those of us who have experienced awakenings and ascensions to not judge people who are not ascended like we are. Okay. So that was one that I had to that the Lord had to deal with me on and to really get into my face about is even in my thoughts, you know, and it took some doing, but the Lord is a gracious God, to just be able to listen to somebody saying it and planning and doing things that I know is just gonna hurt them, super low vibrational, but that is what's important to them. That's what's important to them. Getting laid or just going to do whatever, the type of bullshit that people like to do that really doesn't edify. It doesn't enhance. But I can't judge people. I have to wait for the opportunity to speak, if at all. And sometimes it's just about shutting up or just praying silently, for someone. So when I see where Madonna is saying, let your judgments go, that's what I'm reminded of. And with this dream about the Republicans and other dreams that I've had, you know, the Lord wants those of us who have been ascended to really, really work with people, which means we're going to have really good spiritual hygiene when we're alone doing our yoga and our meditations, our drumming, our music circles, whatever the fuck that what it is that we do, our crystal work, going to the damn spa bench. Ain't nothing like hopping in a hot tub or a sauna. You know, we gotta recharge. That's why Jesus was constantly on the Mount of Olives with his chosen few, his small elite team. You know, you know, that way he had his crowd that he felt like understood him. He would go and impart his wisdom to people. Then he'd go fuck back up on the Mount of Olives and shit like that. So we got to be very, very balanced. Balance, balance, balance. Speak balance to this world. Lord, balance your people out in the name of thy son. Frozen. Okay. This is a one song, no matter what male I have spoken to in this world, he could be like totally fucking masculine type of dude who don't fucking listen to Madonna. Okay. Every dude knows about this motherfucking song. Cause of that one scene where Madonna turns into those Dobermans or fucking German Shepherds or whatever kind of dogs they are. I don't, you know, but this video is very like it's blue and black. This one and the next and last song I'm going to talk about, The Power of Goodbye, echo each other with that monochromatic tone. It's like very, this very emotional, fluid, violety type blue and black. Cold as fuck. Cold vibes all fucking day long and throughout the night. But every guy in the world knows about that one Madonna song when she turned into the dog, and she turned into like birds and all kinds of shit too. But this song is about letting people go who won't be flexible. The lyrics, you only see what your eyes want to see. How can life be what you want it to be? You're frozen when your heart's not open. You ever deal with a person who's so in their own way that they say they want this, but then they act like that? And the words that leave their mouth don't are not congruent with the way they choose to live. Okay. In this song, Madonna is just saying, you're not the person who I thought you were, hoped you could be. This is how you actually are. I'm willing now to see you for how you really are. A part of, going through bad relationships of any kind, coworkers, friends, business, family, children, whatever, is getting to a point where you can actually acknowledge the evil, low vibrations, however you choose to describe it, within motherfucking people. You know, she continues, you're so consumed with how much you get. You waste your time with hate and regret. You're broken when your heart's not open. You ever meet somebody who want to complain about old shit? Hey, she says you waste your time with hate and regret, and you so consumed with how much you get. It's like the more people get this consumerism, no matter how many people you sleep with, how much you can drink, no matter how much you can travel and feed yourself on anything that can be consumed from shopping to whatever. If you don't get into your shadow and deal with the shit that's there, heal that inner child, you ain't living the type of life you could be. Period. Period. being distracted with distractions. That is the consumerism she's talking about here, while wasting time with hate and regret. You have to face whatever it is you hate, whatever it is you regret. Use this year of the eclipses, I will call it, for this. Get on them ashy kneecaps, as the old people used to tell us, and pray, and get down there and pray and length. Them little popcorn prayers ain't gonna cut it. You have got to labor before the Lord. You know, we would do all kinds of things that bring us pleasure for an extended period of time. And then when it comes down to soul work, healing, being of service to God, it needs to be done quick, if at all. They ain't gonna cut it. Because like I said, the thing you're trying to break from don't want you to be broken free. You got to convince God to help you. Okay. Okay. You like to be convinced to what? Buy this, buy that. You know how people get, they'll be like, I'll consider if I'll buy this or travel here. Well, as much as you have a right to do that, why should God hop on a at the split of a finger and a snap of a finger just because you ask him to do some shit? Especially when you're not really close to God like that in the first place. You don't do shit for people who aren't close to you like you would for people who are close to you. Person X could come and ask you for thing X. You'd be like, no, 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 huh? And your best friend could ask you for that same damn thing. You'd be like, oh, here, go, girl. You don't have it. Like a girl, I don't need it anyway. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but we treat people different based on how we view those people. All of us do that. And so God is not just going to do some shit for you because you say so, or because after years of ignoring him, you decide that you're actually gonna pay attention, and then you're going there to get shit, so anyway, now there's no point in placing the blame, and you should know I suffer the same if I lose you. My heart will be broken. One sign of spiritual maturation is when you stop worrying about who the fuck is to blame. You stop arguing. You understand that arguing is a choice. Everything you do is a choice. And where it can make you do what you don't want to do. Stay away from people or proceed with caution with people. Really fucking stay away from people who have this thing about them where they think that arguing must be a part of the human existence. No, it's a part of their existence. There are people who've been in my life for decades and we've never had one fucking fight. We're truthful with each other. We'll check each other in love to keep each other in line, but we've never fucking raised our voices. And we've been friends a long time. Okay. So a part of growth is getting out of this blaming. Doesn't matter. Everybody's going to give an account for their own actions. However, anybody's acting is the extent to which they can. So there's no point in trying to change people. This song is about that, just acknowledging this person is deeply in their negative vibration coming from their shadow. I can't do anything with this relationship. It's not going to work. You might have to make this decision about your kids one day. You know, you know, doesn't matter. A person is an individual soul with their own decisions. You can't do anything with people. Like the angel Gabriel told Daniel, the wicked shall do wickedly. like there and he just moved on to the next subject. There isn't anything that you can do. People are gonna do what the fuck they want to do. And so I love that she's acknowledging, if I lose you, my heart will be broken. Because she's saying this ain't gonna work. I'm gonna face these feelings and go through it. But go through it, I will. Then she goes on to say, if I could melt your heart, we'd never be apart. Give yourself to me, you hold the key. She's mourning the loss of something that had potential. Every relationship I had, I wanted it to work. It didn't because I was in that narcissistic cycle and everything like that, which has now been shattered and banished and just disintegrated. There's nothing left of it. She understood this other person could have changed by saying that they hold the key to their own happiness, but they chose to hold on to hate and regret. But if only she could have melted that heart, but that person did not want their own heart to melt. She's specifically talking about romance here because Madonna's had her ups and downs when it comes to relationships, but we can always apply this to other dynamics. But this is giving me strong, like lover romance vibes because these are some of our closest relationships, probably the closest. Because most people should not be seeing naked and all of that. It's a very vulnerable thing. And as we discussed in the sex blog that's now live on my website, sexdrugsandjesus.com, you're open, totally fucking open every time you have sex with somebody. There's no part of you that is inaccessible, although you might think it is or try to act like it is. But she's this whole song is about the coldness that comes from a relationship that was once warm or perceived to be, in wishing it was gonna be one way, but it just won't. Coming to terms with the truth of some hard shit is a part of spiritual growth. Life is not supposed to be butterflies and fucking rainbows all the time. I'm one of the most positive minded, optimistic, upbeat, happy go lucky, hippy skippy people I know. However, when it comes to other people, there are limits, and there's only so damn much you can do. You will waste your energy trying to chase down somebody and change them. They must initiate the change that they want to have in their life. You cannot do that for them. It does not matter how much vision you have for other people, how wonderful you think they are and could be. They have got to sort that shit out on their own. And in my opinion, people don't need to be getting into relationships. The spirit would say this too. People don't need to be getting into relationships unless they have themselves sorted out beforehand. You need two old people to get together, or however many are going to be in a polyamorous union, but everybody needs to have their demons named, tamed, sorted with treatments on board. You don't have to be perfect, but you can't have shit lurking in your shadow that you won't face, unwilling to change. Mm-mm. Arguing and things like that. It's not suitable for a relationship. You know why? Why? The fuck are you fighting over? Like, we have every reason to be thankful for everything that we have, and when people argue and fight, cheat, do all of this bullshit, everything but facing their issues, heal their inner child, it's a choice that they made. So we need to get our shit together and come into relationships with healthy practices, habits, from eating to physical fitness, spiritual hygiene. You need to have your bases covered and not just be all emotional, like, oh, I want a relationship or I just want someone to bone all the time. You know, come on, people. This is a time of growth. We gotta do better. And and so so that's enough for Frozen. Shout out to Elsa too, girl. And so the last song is The Power of Goodbye. This song to me is the answer to the song that I just was talking about, Frozen. After she analyzed this dude, saw he wasn't about shit, wasn't gonna change, mourned the idea of the relationship that she was in, even though it takes two people. One person wanted to be positive, and how was it? That meme or something I came across said, try to be in a relationship, say with like a narcissist or whatever type of evil they have, or somebody who won't change or be flexible. It's like the nice person being in a boat that's sinking and the nice person trying to take the water out of it. And the narcissist or the cheater or the liar is trying to still poking holes in the damn boat. You're working towards two different objectives. One person is trying to sabotage the shit. Another one's actually trying to move forward. It won't work, bitch. I tried it. Sounds like Madonna may have too. So the power of goodbye. This is the one where her and that hot ass model, they're like fighting and moving the chess pieces around, and everything like that. It's so dramatic. Yes. And so then she's saying, your heart is not open, so I must go. The spell has been broken. I loved you so. I spoke of last year when I ended that relationship, how, and other people have spoken of this too, who were once with a narcissist, how it feels like we were under a spell that had been broken, you know, and it's like the light was brighter, food tasted better, child, the air smelled sweeter. I was still going through a whole lot of shit internally, but there was a light and there was hope. And but the spell was broken. Sometimes we know when some shit has run its course and the expiry date has long passed. But what happens is when we keep exposing ourselves to that energy, it tends to want to pull us in. That's why when we buy ourselves away from people, we're happier. When we're around them, we're like, kind of like, fuck, we got to hang out with this person to get, but you want to keep the relationship going. And this is why I say don't another reason why I say don't go back and sleep with people who you didn't broke up with. So, you need to keep your distance from them for a while, perhaps permanently, because if you're trying to get free of something, you can't keep reinfecting yourself with it. So you got to get away from that energy, whatever it is, be it drugs or porn or whatever. In order for the spell to break, you can't keep being exposed to it. Freedom comes when you learn to let go. Creation comes when you learn to say no. No is a word that I used to struggle with. She's speaking about detachment here. Detachment is something I used to struggle with. Child, I love detaching. It's freedom and it's the fucking truth. When you don't hold attachments to physical things or to people or to the ideas of whatever you define as pleasure, when the only thing that you know that you can't go without is your relationship with the divine, you have achieved, been granted power that most people don't achieve in this life. Okay. Understanding that whatever it is that you lose, God can give it to you again. But the most important thing is having truth around you and not facilitating and building structures to reinforce lies. Being, that relationship isn't right. Your children are out there doing what the fuck ever. You know your cats are acting a fool when you're not at the house. Come on now. I know what my cats do when I'm not around, but whatever. They're great children, so they can walk on my fucking tables and little girl likes to sniff around and sneak food out of any kind of thing that's just been cooked and left on the counters. I know what they do when they're not slaughtering lizards and other things that well, forced and unfortunately find their ways across my children's path. And freedom comes when you learn to let go. Let go of everything, as Years and Years says it in their song, King. There's really not that much I could add to that. You must let go of that which you fear to lose. Yoda was right. You can't being attached to things in this world is another part of Lucifer's tricks because this world is fading. This is why Lucifer didn't mind offering Jesus while he was tempting him everything in the world because it's not going to be here tomorrow anyway. But the allegiance that Lucifer was trying to get from Jesus, that he wanted a different dynamic in his relationship with Jesus that was worth more to Lucifer than everything on this planet, because Lucifer knows that there's something about our relationships with the divine and with each other that has an eternal value to it, an eternal flavor, whereas things in this world is not. So there goes any kind of physical thing. Okay, period. Sex included. Anything that you can trick a person with, beguile a person with, it comes in that territory, but being willing to let go. This is the importance of fasting from food, drinks, sex, video games, travel, whatever it is that you associate pleasure with, you need to put yourself on a hiatus from it from time to time to keep your flesh in check. And also to show sacrifice to the divine. I know there's a lot of talk about go get this experience and consume that. I don't give a fuck what the popular voice is. The popular voice has gotten groups of people killed at the same damn time all throughout history. I am telling your ass to take time off from the things that you like, to honor God, to show thanks and gratitude, and to keep yourself in control. So creation comes when you learn to say no. There is so much power. Creation comes when you learn to say no. Saying no to people you banished from your life who want to come back. No. Saying no to habits that try to come back into your life. No. No. One of my favorite lines from that movie set it off. What part of no do you not understand, though? The N or the O? And so, what? Megan Trainor, my girl, made that song. My name is no. My sign is no. My number is no. You need to let it go. You need to let it go. Need to let it go. Oh, that song gives me so much life. My name is no, my sign is no, my number is no. You need to let it go. It is so fucking interesting. The more that I have said no to a certain people, places, things, and beings, it's like the more attracted they've become. But once I say no, it's final no. I don't ever take back my no's. And so, child, let me move on. So you were my lesson I had to learn. I was your fortress you had to burn. Child, I mean, this is a part of the evaluating that you could go through once you end relationships. You got to give yourself time to to feel these feelings. She took time to learn these lessons rather than going to run off and getting in a relationship. She was burned to the ground. I remember that dream that I had about my mother in a car fire when I was at the Metropolitan Hotel in Dubai, well, the year before last. You know, the way that last relationship that I was in ended, absolutely burned me down to the ground. There was nothing left, and so, but that's okay because I get to, we get to be reborn from the ashes. I'm trying to encourage you to let go of whatever the fuck it is you fear to let go of and go through the pain, bitch, because you get a better life on the other end. And she's acknowledging this person who the relationship couldn't last. There was a lesson that she needed to learn and that she had to be destroyed in the process of learning it. I'm on the same page with this bitch. I feel it. I feel it. But where is Madonna now? Happy, raising her children, showing up late to concerts whenever the fuck she feels like it. Who gonna really check her? And so, okay. Pain is a warning that something's wrong. I was down in Mexico a couple of weeks ago participating in a plant medicine research thing that I'm gonna do a separate video on. And when I was under the influence of the medicine, there were certain pains that I was feeling, and it was like a sentient spirit telling me, like the pain was interpreted as like a spirit saying, "This is what's wrong. This is what you need to work on." Pain is any type of discomfort, a nudge, an intuition, the spirit telling you something ain't right about that. Something's not right. You know how it is when we be having those second thoughts about people we're in a relationship with going, I bet you they out there doing whatever, pay attention to that. Lean into that. Don't lean away from it because that's how you listen to what God is trying to tell you. We be knowing when shit's not right, and yet we go forward with it anyway. But eventually everything comes out because there are no secrets. And so, and then the longer you stay tied to people, I feel the need to tell you this. God wants you to know and to understand that you're doing yourself a disservice by staying in relationships with people who are dishonest and willing to lie, scheme, and cheat and be abusive and hit you or curse you out and do all those things because you're tied to that person. When you're having sex with people and when you're in relationships with people, you get caught up into their karma too. If you have kids, staying in a abusive relationship, you're not doing it for the sake of the kids. You're doing it because you're addicted to the person who's abusing you. Stop using the children as an excuse. You're lying to yourself. But you're hurting those children. And I get it might not be easy to leave. Your responsibility is to start the baby steps to have an exit plan. Because you don't want to let yourself get into a situation where you might have bad karma for allowing those kids to be abused when you could have done something to get them out of that situation. But you just wanted to stay there because of this man or this woman or whatever. Girl, bye. Get you someone new. Heal first and get you someone new. It'll be all right. Because remember when, right, when Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed, one thing that people don't really preach about, and it wasn't because of the gays, it was because of people's fucked up relationships with each other and their over sexualization, which was gay, straight, probably every damn thing in between. Their disdain for each other. They wanted to have all this sex with people, do all these things, but they didn't actually honor the people. And the Lord warned us about having experiences with people with our minds being alienated from people. That's in the Bible too. The Lord wants us fully present with people, caring about people, wanting their best interest, not just using people to get by. be it sexually or other, financially or whatever the case may be. But when Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed, also the surrounding villages too, because that's the way it goes. Though those people got caught up in Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction because they were too close. Lot's wife turned around and got turned to a pillar of salt because her mind was looking back when God wanted her looking ahead. So we got to get away from these people so we don't get caught up in their karma, and their karma it will be bad. You know, and I don't say this with any kind of gloating joy because the Lord showed me, his plans for the people who hurt me from the past. It's the kind of thing that's and people who were trying to, like hurt me since I've been in New York, the Lord showed me what he does, to people. It's nothing to it's sobering. It's the kind of stuff that just I mean, I am not a speechless person, but like what I saw in the way that it was showed to me was just like, well, Lord, and so no, so God is trying to warn you. Use this year and this time to establish your exit strategy from bad jobs, bad people, because that karma is not going to be withheld from them forever. And then when you leave that person is when they can really get the full brunt of it, and they deserve every bit of it. And but think about how it's hindering you. How much further would you be along if you weren't married to a narcissist? How much further would you be along? I mean, because you have an energetic contract. You enter into people long before you sign on any kind of dotted line. You accept that person's energy and all that they are, whether they're whatever they're out there doing or not doing, you're part of it. And so that's why we have to be very careful who we have sex with, who we date, who we marry. And so, because their entire existence gets mixed in with yours. And so let them people go. They're not very likely to change, though they have every opportunity to do it. There's so much healing available online, over Zoom, over YouTube, whatever the fuck. And when people want to stay the same and do like what Madonna was talking about in the Frozen song, in this day and time, you're dealing with a hard headed motherfucker who just, you ever talk to somebody and they're saying something and you're like I was at this physical therapy thing the other day and there was this older guy and there was this younger guy. And it was like the beginnings of like an extended or like a several session physical therapy thing, teaching us on how to help our lower backs. And this younger guy was like, these exercises are for like old people. I can't believe that I'm in here doing this. Which he said very loudly that offended the older person, but that they're low vibrational masculine. That's the type of empty headed shit that them dudes say. And I was trying to tell him, like, well, maybe this is just the beginning and things like that. We start slow build up because technically these exercises are for people who have been injured or having like a bad back day. If you want to go run a marathon, then this might not be the class for you. And he was just repeating back to me, using I statements saying, well, I can do this and this and this. You ever talk to somebody and you're giving them an alternative point of view, but they keep repeating back to you how they already are. Another guy I was talking to, considering being friends with, absolutely nothing sexual, was one of those people who likes to vent. I'm not into venting. I'm into problem solving, not talking about them. And and I was telling him, it's not a good thing to just constantly tell people about negative things, especially if you're not going to lead in with something positive with no gratitude. And instead of considering the alternate point of view, he just kept repeating, well, I like to vent. Needless to say, I'm not friends with him because, you accept a certain portion of your friend's karmic consequences too. It means so much to the divine when God looks down here and you're choosing friends, you're choosing people to sleep with, you're choosing people to date. Those choices do define you. You can tell a lot about people through the company they choose. I used to did not accept that, but yeah, you can because people are making an active decision to have the people around them. There is a lot for you to go off of there. So be damn careful. And when you start to have those inclinations, like this lyric says, pain is a warning that something's wrong. Pay attention. Why are you uncomfortable on any level? Fix it or get rid of the person. I pray to God that it won't be long. You want to go higher. That's the whole point here is to grow. There's nothing left to try. There's no place left to hide. There's no greater power than the power of goodbye. Goodbye is a great power. And I pray that you come to a point where you don't feel like there's anything left to try, there's nothing left to hide. Some people would call that rock bottom, a breaking point. This is when you can change. But if you're still trying to negotiate with evil, negotiate with a fake relationship, negotiate with a situationship or some bullshit, any type of bullshit that you know ain't real shit, then you're not ready to change. Not enough bad things have happened to you yet. You're not uncomfortable enough yet. And there's no greater power than the power of goodbye. There's there's a certain change that comes over. I think I'll leave that alone. There's nothing left to lose. There's no more heart to bruise. There's no greater power than the power of goodbye. That's the last lyric too. That just reminds me of how emptied out I felt coming through the devastation of the relationship from last year. It's not, I don't sit around thinking about all this shit or nothing like that. Those days are gone. I have great peace, great happiness that the Holy Ghost has given me, and I'm thankful to Jesus for it. But I felt there was nothing left on the inside. The saying goes in spiritual circles that we must be emptied out so that we can be filled again. The spiritual people believe the universe expands and contracts, and our emptying out and getting refilled echoes that. Like the universe is a moving thing, not rigid, so to speak. And so I love this, because she's saying there's no more heart to bruise, there's nothing left to lose. She had to tried everything that she could. She'd given her all, and she knew it was time to move on and to move on without this person. And so I admire the strength that comes through this type of analysis. This is somebody telling themselves the whole fucking truth about them, whoever this other person or persons were, the situation, its prognosis, and the fact that it won't work. We're going to go through this change and we're going to come out completely different. This is what this Ray of Light album is all about, change, accepting change, looking at it as a positive thing and not a negative thing, and understanding that we were meant to grow and evolve, to serve God, serve the divine, sort out our purpose, and to go through cycles. To go through cycles. We should always be open to change, releasing, letting go freely. The Lord said it like this: freely you have received, freely give. You must give up whatever it takes for you to excel in life, to let go of whatever's hindering you, whatever's hurting you. Cycles tend to repeat. It might look different, the heartbreak next time or whatever is disappointing. And yeah, so consider this, consider listening to this Ray of Light album and maybe paying attention to what it speaks to you. Don't take for granted or just write off the things that the moon and the sun and the stars, what God has set in motion to do. They paid attention, to new moons and different things like that. Even back in the Old Testament, they would do feasts and things like that. I don't worship the moon. I don't pray to angels. I only worship God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost, the High Trinity before whom I serve. I just want to be clear on that. I'm not saying that I'm looking down on people who worship the moon or nothing like that. I just think it's always good to know that when people are teaching you where they're getting their power from, who and what they're praying to, rather, because people will use the word intuition loosely and just, I mean, strictly speaking, some being outside of us has to tell us things that are going to happen. All of the answers are not within us. I fundamentally disagree with that. All of the answers are not within us. It is a team effort in between us and God. Some of the answers are within us. Some shit we need to get directly from outside of us. And so to pay attention when you're listening to spiritual leaders. Who are these people? Where are they getting their information from? Who do they pray to? What have they been through? Rather than listening to every convincing, intense sounding voice and just running off and following it, you have low vibrational, spiritual, quote unquote, people calling themselves leaders and healers too, which I'm going to do a separate show talking about like low vibrational clairvoyance, at another date and time. And so it's a shame, even in the most spiritual of places, you still have fuckers running around perpetrating on some bullshit. so, so, especially on YouTube. So we talked about Ray of Light, Darlings, and how this album coincides greatly with this eclipse energy and this eclipse time that we're under. And it's 2:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, April the 8th, as I'm closing this out. It should be getting pretty eclipsy around here soon. I wish you the best. I wish you light. I wish you a closer relationship with the divine than you've ever had before. I speak success and strength over this world for all who are bold and strong enough to reach through the darkness to find that light. Until next time. Thank you all so much for joining us today and for taking some time to invest into yourself and into the lives of your loved ones. Please visit us at sexdrugsandjesus.com and check out our resource page, our spiritual service offerings, my blog, my books, and other writings that God has partnered with me to create. Find us on any social media platform. Stay strong, my people, and just remember that everything is going to be all right.